Karen's HOA had long struggled with the concept of boundaries, but this time they truly outdid themselves. Without warning or permission, they turned my backyard into a homeless shelter. Tents, temporary trailers, and scattered belongings suddenly appeared where my vegetable garden and koi pond once thrived. They justified it as community support and assumed I would quietly comply, intimidated by their numbers and supposed authority. They could not have been more wrong. The first hint of the intrusion was subtle. I noticed smoke from a campfire near my tomato beds. Then came the sounds: loud chatter, laughter, and the unmistakable clatter of dishes. When I approached, I was greeted by a row of tents, blankets strewn about, and a few of Karen's HOA enforcers patting themselves on the back. They had barricaded my fences with temporary structures and placed community assistance signage at every entrance. Karen herself stood proudly at the center, clipboard in hand, declaring, "We're helping the needy. You can't stop us." I smiled. That smile, calm and controlled, unnerved her. She had assumed fear and submission. Instead, she got strategy, preparation, and a very public lesson in consequences. First, I documented everything. Every tent, trailer, and encroachment was recorded with cameras and drones. Photos, videos, and timestamps created an irrefutable record. I also interviewed a few of the homeless individuals, explaining the situation and ensuring they understood that the property they were on was private and that I had no intention of harming them. They were collateral in a larger legal and strategic plan. Then I began the real work. Using legal authority and property control, I executed a clever reversal. I offered alternate accommodations in the HOA's office buildings. Using local code enforcement and social services contacts, I arranged for the homeless individuals to be safely relocated into temporary, legally approved shelters. Every move was documented and photographed, emphasizing safety, legality, and care. Next came the symbolic gesture. I placed fences around the HOA's office property, clearly labeling it as Temporary Shelter, Community Responsibility Zone. Volunteers from local nonprofits helped set up tents and temporary amenities, showing the HOA what their own plan looked like when reversed. Karen's staff looked on in stunned disbelief as the very chaos they had imposed on my backyard now appeared outside their office. While this was happening, I leveraged public opinion. Neighbors, who had previously whispered about Karen's overreach, now witnessed a full-scale spectacle. The HOA had created a mess on private property, only to have it mirrored safely and responsibly on their own administrative property. Social media posts, local news coverage, and community photos spread rapidly. HOA turns private backyard into shelter, reversed onto office property. Public outrage quickly favored me, portraying Karen as reckless and abusing her authority. Legal steps followed. I filed for an injunction to prevent future unauthorized uses of my property and included evidence of repeated trespasses. At the same time, I worked with city authorities to formalize guidelines for temporary shelters, ensuring that Karen could no longer act unilaterally under the guise of community service. By evening, the backyard was fully restored. The tents were gone, the soil tilled, and the koi pond undisturbed. The community understood the sequence. Karen and her HOA could act with impunity only until met with planning, legality, and strategic response. She had assumed audacity alone would force compliance. Instead, she was met with preparation, reversal, and undeniable authority. The moral was clear. Attempt to impose on private property without consent, and your own plans can be mirrored back upon you with precision, legality, and creativity. Karen's arrogance had been turned into a lesson in public accountability. She had assumed she could create temporary chaos on my land. Instead, she had become the subject of a public demonstration showing the consequences of recklessness. By nightfall, calm returned. The backyard was peaceful, the plants restored, and my boundaries secure. Karen's office became a temporary testament to overreach, visible to the community and an enduring reminder that preparation, authority, and lawful action outweigh audacity every single time.